things happen for a reason, and you know my philosophy in life: put yourself in the right place, and good things will happen. And that's basically what's happened.
That's a funny way of you saying when you're talking to famous people on the phone, say their names out loud very, very often, and hope that people around you hear
Somebody's going to hear you.
Someone's going to hear it.
So what was more important that came out of that meeting, Mr. Fortuitous, as I was getting up to leave, there was a fellow in that meeting. His name was Pat Brisson.
Little name. I don't know if anyone's heard of it before.
Well, at the time...
No, not at the time, but now.
Pat was, an up-and-coming agent.
Yeah.
Many of you will know that he's one of the leading agents in the business right now.
One of the most powerful human beings in hockey.
I think he's the number
right
one on the power list of agents. He'd be number one, I think.
Yeah.
And J.P. Barry, I believe, was there, his partner. And they work for IMG as well, out of Toronto. And so as I'm getting up to leave, I remember Pat saying to me, he says, Brian, he says, I'm here. I have a hockey player that I'd like you to consider. And I said, well, who is that? And he said the name, Sidney Crosby. And I went, well, that's interesting. I honestly didn't know that much about Sidney. I heard about him a little bit as some phenom that's coming up and playing amazing hockey. And I said, well, you know what? I said, what's it take? And he said, we're looking for a $50,000 minimum guarantee.
For at the time, 14-year-old kid?
I don't even give $50,000 guarantees to most of the current players.
Yeah.
Okay. And that's what we would have to buy in 1 year. For a kid just leaving Shattuck St. Mary and moving to Rimouski. He wasn't even going to the NHL.
No, we still had years left.
And I don't really know much about this guy, but I do know what Mike Weir's worth to me.
Sure.
And Mike Weir was going to be our big golden calf.
Yeah.
So I was afraid to say no. I thought if I didn't say yes to Sidney, then they might pull the Mike Weir deal.
Oh, see, that's an element I had not heard. So part of the reason why you did it is because you maybe not felt that they were pressuring you, but you may have inferred that
I didn't have $50,000 to do it.
Oh my God!
I mean, if they sold, I knew if Mike Weir sold, then I'd have the money to guarantee, even if I had to waste it or lose it. Right. So,
which would looking back, was it a waste?
No, we did okay.
You did okay. Okay,
we did
I'm
okay.
just checking. Just checking. Yeah.
So, I remember leaving the meeting thinking, I better do some homework on this Sidney Crosby kid. Mike Weir did really well for us. Thank you, Mike, for helping us take it to another level.
And Craig, his brother, we've worked with for forever.
Craig and they got into the winery business. That's a whole other thing. But so as I left, I was really excited about Mike Weir, and I knew I had to learn a little bit more about Sidney Crosby because I just made a big commitment.
Sure.
I didn't even have to make that commitment to Mike.
Yeah.
Mike was going to sell regardless.
Yeah.
So as we left, that was it. That was how we got Sidney Crosby. Well, it wasn't a final deal. Pat had to. Well, this is another interesting story I just thought about. Pat had to get permission from Troy and Trina Crosby and run it by them, of course.
Sidney's parents, yeah.
And he had to kind of go to them on our behalf and say, I've got this great company, Frameworth. Here's some of the work that they've done. They just represented Mike Weir, et cetera. But don't forget, there were people more knowledgeable than me about hockey at the time.
Right.
I'm pretty good, but more. And they said that there were other people looking to get Sidney under their umbrella.
Okay. Even knowing about that $50,000 guarantee. So there were people who knew enough to know that he may be worth $50,000 at I believe 13 or 14.
He was 15, I think, at the
15
time.
at the time?
15.
Okay.
So we do this. So I'm worried about this deal with Mike, but now it's not a slam dunk that I've got Sidney. It's just that I committed to it if they want us to do it.
Right.
Pat Brisson comes up to visit our operation here, which is fairly impressive. We got about 35,000 square feet and a nice showroom and all that. And so he's doing his homework, and he mentioned that he wants to introduce me to the Crosbys, but there's some other people on the table. I didn't know anything about it. We ended up doing the deal with the Crosbys and worked out a nice contract. Again, a partnership type of arrangement, which is still in place today. But a little while longer, you remember the Heritage game, the first Heritage game, outdoor game in Calgary?
Yep.
So I'm there. At the time, I am working with Mike Brown
of WG Authentic,
and Wayne Gretzky had a company, WG Authentic, and I had done a little work with Mike, trying to do his memorabilia for Wayne's company. Wayne did his own memorabilia at the time, and his brother-in-law, Mike Brown.
Prior to Upper Deck, yeah.
I'm trying to get these timelines straight. So we're at this, I think that was the same year, 2003. I'm having breakfast with Mike in the hotel. I think it was a Westin, and all of a sudden, Mike gets a tap on the shoulder, and I look up, and it's Wayne. You guys mind if I have breakfast with you?
Yeah, sorry, this seat's taken, sir. How dare you?
So I'm just I'm really excited that Wayne wants to sit down, and I had met him a couple of times, and we were doing some work for Wayne at the time, and getting rolling on that operation. And during the course of the conversation at the breakfast table, Sidney's name came up, and he said, Wayne said something like, "Oh yeah, did we get that deal, Mike?"
Oh my God.
So it turns out that the people that we were bidding against
were your partners in...
Was WG Authentic and Wayne Gretzky. Because I didn't know that at the time.
Because our relationship with them, or Frameworth's relationship at the time, was essentially we would handle all of their framing. Right, for WG Authentic. Yeah, so we were partners, and you were good friends with Mike Brown at the time.
Right.
Yeah.
Mike and I became very good friends, and I'm still friends with his family. That's a whole other storyline there. But to tie in with Mike, Mike Weir, that was for Wayne to. I didn't know what to say. I was like, I didn't want to embarrass him, and I literally said to Wayne, "I didn't know you were bidding. I swear, I didn't know you were bidding on him." And he looked at me, he says, "You got a really good find there."
That's really good.
He was very gracious about it. And I don't know why they came to Frameworth over Wayne Gretzky. At the time, I didn't. And then I found out later, they felt that Sidney should be going on his own path. They felt that if they went with Wayne Gretzky's company, that there would be too much comparison between Wayne and Sidney as a young kid. They didn't want him to have to live up to any standards, et cetera.
Fair.
And so they thought they'd go with a young company that was, kind of separate from all that. And that was the reason.
Thank you so much for watching this clip of the Sign Off, a Frameworth podcast. Just a reminder that we have full episodes of the Sign Off available wherever you get your podcasts, on iTunes, Stitcher, Spotify, Google Podcasts, and more. Make sure to like and subscribe on whichever platform you use. You can find us on Twitter at Frameworth Sport or on Instagram at Frameworth Sports. And hey, if you're not sick of me yet, you can find me on Twitter at Retrograde Mikey. Finally, feel free to send us emails with your questions you want us to answer on the show, and we may feature you live. You can do that by sending your emails to signoffpod@frameworth.com. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you with a new episode every single Thursday.